Welcome to TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John, that's my cohort and commentary, Ashton, and this is our NXT review. And I gotta say, guys, this is a really fun episode of NXT tonight. We are back on the NXT review wagon, and what a way to start. We got the return of Oney Lorcan teaming with Danny Burch against the Brazilian Bruisers, Cesar Bononi and Jowd. We got Tommaso Ciampa Daddy, the greatest sports entertainer of all time, addressing the NXT universe. And we got the EST looking for the 1, 2, 3 against Nikki Cross in the main event of NXT. So on the whole, a really fun hour of television, but don't take my word for it. Let's hand it over to my cohort and commentary, Ashton. Ashton, what did you think about NXT tonight?
I'm amazed at the fact that you're a poet and you didn't even realize it.
I know, right?
Yeah, it's crazy. But yeah, man, this was a really fun episode of NXT. Main event was a little bit weak, and we'll already be talking about that when we get to it. But for the most part, I enjoyed NXT tonight. Honestly, I think that I enjoyed the talking segments on tonight's NXT more than anything else. There were 4 matches, but the talking segments outdid the matches for me in this show, on this show.
Hey, man, that's totally understandable. With that said, let's get to our first segment, Heat of the Night. I got no heats tonight. I got no nitpicks. You know, train's moving along just fine as far as I'm concerned. What about you, Ashton? You got any heats tonight or nitpicks?
You know what? I'm going to say no heats of the night. Not really a nitpick, more a question. I'm wondering why nobody came out to help this Violet Payne woman while Shayna was destroying her face.
Yeah, you know, I did kind of question that too, especially because we know for a fact that, like, Kyrie was in the building. She had a segment later in the show. So
that's right. I forgot to write that down. Shit.
That's why there's 2 of us, partner. So yeah, like, you know, I love Kyrie to death, but even I had to kind of look at that and be like, Kyrie, did you not see that poor woman getting bullied? Was that just not your hill to die on? I mean, she, you know, was wearing like a stunning dress and stuff. Maybe she just didn't want to get that ruined. I don't know, but I'm like, that doesn't seem like a pirate. A pirate always seems to face the fight head on. So I'm just like, where was Kyrie tonight? So I can understand, like, why you'd have that question, especially given that the champion, the person that Shane is in a main conflict with, shared a segment, like, on this show tonight. So, yeah, good question indeed.
All right, man. Well, I think I'm ready to get into our review then.
All right, then let us get right into our NXT review. And, partner, as I said, if I remember correctly, we opened up with Danny Burch and Oney Lorcan against Cesar Bononi and Jowd. Again, both.
Well, I mean, to be fair, before the NXT signature even played, we got to watch as Daddy Ciampa walked into the building and refused to answer any questions from that lame-ass cameraman.
Oh, that is true because, you know, Ciampa's time is the most important time. Who the hell did that reporter think he was? Walter Cronkite? And even then, he still wouldn't matter compared to Ciampa. God.
Exactly. But you're right, though. Once we actually get inside Full Sail, we do start with Danny Burch and Oney Lorcan versus Adrian Jowd and Cesar Bononi. And I do want to say, the crowd, when they cheer for Burch and Lorcan, they're cheering for them just yelling 1, 2.
Yeah.
Found that interesting because, I mean, the thing is, I wonder if they're going to actually start going by, like, Team 1, 2. Because for the longest time, Oney Lorcan held up that 1.
Right.
And Burch joined him. He started holding up the peace sign, which is like a 2. And now the crowd's saying 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. I wonder if they're going to just be known rather than us constantly having to say Danny Burch and Oney Lorcan, or even Burch and Lorcan, which is still, you know, fucking 4 consonant or 4 syllables. Maybe we can just say Team 1, 2 and cut a syllable out and go down to 3.
Maybe. That might be interesting. We'll have to see. But, yeah, this was really a match to kind of reintroduce Oney Lorcan, who's been out with an injury. I think it was like, what, a broken orbital bone, if I remember correctly, or something of that nature.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Great to see him again. I feel like Oney is one of the more underrated prospects in NXT. or maybe understated would be a better word, because he is getting more of a spotlight, and he was getting more of a spotlight until he got injured. So I don't really know if that's fair to NXT, but you get what I'm trying to say. I think he looked great here. I loved his hot tag where he just grabbed, I believe it was Jowd by like the chin, and he just kept like striking him in the face. It took me back to his matches with Hideo, which I think were some of Hideo's best NXT matches. And great fire there. I've always been kind of a low-key Danny Burch fan, even when he was still a jobber, if you remember. So I don't really have anything bad to say about
yeah,
Burch.
dude. You and I have both liked Danny. Or wait, did you say Danny fan or Oni fan?
Danny. I know you and I both liked Oni, but I feel like
I was gonna talk about how much you and I have liked Oni, even going back to his days as Biff Busick and PWG. But yeah, I definitely will kind of stand back, because you definitely have over the time been more of a Danny Burch fan than I have. I'm pretty apathetic towards him, but I know you like him.
Yeah, so it's a good pairing, especially because I'd rather these guys be on NXT than not. And, you know, these guys, I mean, they clearly want another shot at Undisputed Era. They want to get back in the hunt. They win the match here with the wheelbarrow DDT kind of double team. I believe this was on Jowd, if I'm not mistaken. Although, I don't know.
I mean, dude, it wasn't even really wheelbarrow at all. Like, he had him up on his shoulders. It was like a shoulder-hung impaler DDT.
Yeah, that's true. It was more like, I don't want to say like suplex position, but yeah, you're right. It was more like shoulder level than wheelbarrow. That's my mistake. But Burch and Lorcan do get the win. So what did you think about this match, man?
It was fine. I mean, it's not like it was a particularly competitive match. Burch and Lorcan pretty much dominated. As far as the two Brazilian guys, definitely much more excited about Benoni as a prospect than Jowd, because he's bigger, he's got a little bit better of a look, and he's younger. But yeah, man, they're both good prospects, and you know they put on a solid match here. But the big news to come out of this is that Burch and Lorcan, we can now call them 1-2 or Team 1-2 or however that works out. And their new tag finish is that like shoulder draping implant DDT.
Yeah, simple yet elegant and effective. So it gets the win. And these guys looking to reassert themselves back in the hunt. That's all I really have to say about it. Unless you have anything more you want to add, we can move on.
Then let's move on, because up next we heard what sounded an awful lot like Taz's original WWE theme song at first, because of the beeps, because it was the boop, 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 like a heart monitor.
Yeah.
As it turns out, it was actually Ciampa's new theme song. So Tommaso Ciampa now has theme music, and it's pretty damn awesome. I like the beginning of it is like Taz, but the actual music is almost like a metalcore version of Christian's My Last Breath TNA theme to me.
Yeah, I
loved that theme, so I'm digging it. I want Ciampa's theme song to get released by WWE Music on YouTube, so we can actually give it a proper listen.
I was gonna say something along those lines, but I'm like, I hope Ciampa doesn't hold the theme hostage like he has everything else.
I mean, we have a T-shirt finally, so and
yeah, but it was never the T-shirt that we wanted.
And the fact that he actually has theme music in the first place now means that he's holding out on less and less as time goes on.
Yeah, probably because he has less to be bitter about, because he's NXT champion. Like, he won.
Yeah, being Tommaso Ciampa is the good life right now.
Absolutely. And speaking of, like, I just want to mention too that I'm glad you mentioned the heartbeats at the beginning of the theme, because he is the black heart, so it seems apropos.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. I didn't even think about that, but you're right.
Yeah, I really like that. And dude, I always feel like you do more justice to Tommaso's promos than I do, so please walk us through what this man had to say to us tonight.
It seems like he's kind of using the theme song as a way to shut the fans up, because like they're complaining about him not having theme song, so that he's going to shut them up about that. But then also they boo him, and he doesn't want to have to hear that. He wants to hear what he wants to hear, and now he's not going to have to hear the boos anymore. He also, goes out of his way to talk about how he didn't take out Aleister Black before TakeOver Brooklyn, because he was planning on taking him out at TakeOver Brooklyn. He didn't feel like he needed that extra little advantage before the show. But if he knew who did it, he would shake their hand, because, he's proud of that work. And then he just kind of talks about how great he is, how amazing of a sports entertainer he is. And that's about the extent of it. So I'll let you elaborate on any other points that you wanted to.
I mean, you really covered the gist of it. There's no need for me to expound upon it.
That's kind of my thing. I'm really good at covering gists.
You really are. So proud of you. So I'm not going to expound upon anything you've said here.
Oh, and then there was another thing, though. The title thanked Tommaso for getting it back to the main event of a TakeOver.
As it should. Not like that deadweight Aleister Black was doing anything with it.
Yeah. And then, of course, the iconic line, if you want to be a champion, follow the lead of Tommaso Ciampa.
I have to ask you something. Now, you know how my brain works. I overthink everything. All of you that watch TWitWoW should know this.
Wait. Are you coming to me to try and prevent you from overthinking something? You might want to second think where you're actually going to here for your source.
Oh my God, they're codependent. I just love that line. I'm sorry. But no, like in all seriousness, do you think this whole like follow the lead, because it's like a fairly new line that Champ has been using? You don't think he's going to get his own faction, do you?
Oh my God, that would be incredible, wouldn't it?
Like, do you feel like somebody maybe as a debut?
You know what, though? The more I gave it 2 seconds of thought and came to the conclusion of it's not fitting of his character to have anyone.
Yeah, it really isn't. It really, but I just like, I had to ask, because just the way he says it, I could just picture somebody being like, you know, I've been watching you closely and you're right. Like, I'm following your lead and my life's never been better. I'm almost like a sicko fan. But
I mean, maybe like a Johnny Mundo with Worldwide Underground, where he just kind of collects followers to try and get him, better his life. Obviously, he doesn't have the same goal as Mundo, because Mundo used Worldwide Underground to win the world title. Tommaso doesn't need that. He just needs them to help him keep it.
Yeah. It's I just thought it was interesting, but I just love the air that Ciampa is giving off. But like, his mic works so good that this promo tonight really just gave me the itch to see what his next feud's going to be, because I feel like his promos are so much better when he has a specific object in mind directed at them. Like, this was a very general promo to me, which is why I felt like your summation was adequate. You know, because it's not like he said anything revelatory or anything like that. But when he focuses,
everything Tommaso says is revelatory.
I mean, that certainly could be argued on fair and spirited ground. But I think when he has a specific object in mind, you know, Johnny Gargano, Aleister Black, even Candice, you know, anybody, when he has something specific in mind, his promos go from here all the way to here. And like his baseline is pretty much higher than most of the fucking roster anyway. And then you get an actual object of desire, and it just gets even better. So really, I just can't wait for him to get into a formal feud. And maybe it'll even be with that fan whose sign he stole at the very end, you know, keeping that Ciampa suck sign up the entire time. I was almost even thinking, is that fan a plant, or is that just a really dedicated Tommaso hater? Either way, they got their sign taken from them, which is what they deserved, and I hope they cried afterwards, in which case I'd blame the cameraman for not focusing in on those tears. But great job to Tommaso all the same.
At the end of the day, I think we can all agree it's entirely the cameraman's fault.
Absolutely. So I've got nothing else to say, man.
Yep, I'm moving on. Up next, match number 2, Violet Payne versus Shayna Baszler. And now, I just want to point out the irony of this situation. Your last name is Payne, and yet you dished out so little of it and felt so much of it.
Hey, your last name was Payne, and yet you didn't bring any. God damn, like,
I know.
You got whooped.
Yeah, it's really disappointing. I mean, your last name is Payne, and I had so many expectations based on that and that alone, and they were so let down.
I mean, really, there's not much to say about this. I mean, Shayna did what Shayna does. She took Payne down early, kind of got the strikes from the mount position, controlled the arm the entire time, to the point where I thought Payne might even tap out to that before she
There are a couple of like really sickening moments where she had her arm like twisted around, and then she slapped like the inside of the elbow to make it bend, and it just like, God, that's the wincing that was going on my end was pretty extreme.
Right, though, and then she stomps on it, so I thought the referee was going to call it there. Then she gets the Kirifuda, obviously the tap out, and then she just comes back a few times and reapplies the Kirifuda over and over, as if to say, like, you're Kyrie, this is what I'm going to do to Kyrie, this is what I'm going to do to become a 2-time NXT Women's Champion. That was essentially the segment. Like,
and like no words were even spoken. It was just the physicality, which I love.
Exactly. I mean, Shayna looked
I also have in my notes here that Morrow is amazing for Shayna's mystique. The way that he puts her over in her offense and the shit that she does to people is incredible.
Oh, absolutely. Like, what I love about Shayna, and I see this all over Twitter, you know, thanks to people like Catch Wrestling and other people, you know, she's got a realism about her offense and the way she engages in grappling, like, that just kind of like sucks you in. Granted, I'll be honest, I don't think her and Kyrie have had that match that I keep expecting them to have, to the point where I'm wondering if they're even capable of it. Because, you know, at Brooklyn, I thought, oh man, they're going to tear the house down. And it was a good match, but I don't think it was like tear the house down kind of match. But I don't think, you know, that's anything against Kyrie or Shayna individually. It's just, I think sometimes you get a pairing, and some pairings are going to have higher ceilings than others, I'll say.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I think it's interesting because I do think Shayna is like a very high ceiling as far as match quality goes type performer. I'm starting to wonder if Kyrie is like sort of the ultimate low risk, low reward. Like she's got a really high floor and she'll always like drag worse people up to her level and make them have a good match no matter what. But I don't know if I've ever seen a really great match from Kyrie.
I don't know, man. Like, and that's me just being as honest as possible, you know?
Yeah, like she's the type that'll give lower card women their best match ever, but I don't know if she'll ever give women that are like really, really good their best match ever. You know what I mean?
I wonder if Io will be the test of that. Because I mean,
and I think that's kind of like that's a great point. I think that Io is an example of somebody that can have match of the year candidates with people that aren't as good as her. Whereas on Kyrie's, and I don't know if I've ever seen her have a match of the year candidate with anyone ever, and she's faced Io in the past, so I just don't know.
Right.
I don't know if Kyrie is the match of the year type. I feel like she's more in like the Bayley category, and she needs to find her Sasha.
Yeah, and I thought Shayna would be that Sasha, but I mean they've had 3 tries at it, and if I'm being honest, which I always try and do on here, no matter how much I like or loathe somebody. I just don't think that's really happened yet. No. But Shayna looked great here. I love the legitimacy. It's like the biggest compliment I could give Shayna. She's all the upside of Brock Lesnar to me with none of the downside. Yeah, and it's really a beautiful thing that works out tremendously for the division. So great segment, and I think I want to end on that soundbite because I don't think anything I say will be better than that. So unless there's anything to say, we can.
That said, then up next, we got Heavy Machinery, and they are still accusing Tommaso Ciampa of attacking Aleister Black. But while they're doing so, Tommaso Ciampa shows up and hears them. And one of my favorite lines of the night is, "When you use my name, put some respect on it, boy."
I love that he just put that joke Otis in his place and slapped him with his dick. Like, that's what you get, Otis.
I hope we do get a Dozovic versus Ciampa match. That would be awesome.
But again, dude, I say, just as a quick aside on a more serious note for this, because, I mean, there really wasn't anything here except Regal taking Ciampa aside because he wanted to talk with him because he's like, oh, thanks for showing up. The only thing I'll say as far as Heavy Machinery and Ciampa, again, you can see that NXT is showing their hand that they favor Otis because it was Otis that got to do the handicap match against the Mighty while Tucker got to play the unconscious body.
Yeah.
And it was Otis talking beef to the fucking NXT champion.
Dude, so, right? It's awesome.
If you're an Otis fan, which I know you are, Ash, I don't know if anybody in our chat is.
I feel like most of us are. Aren't you not?
I'm definitely a bigger Otis fan than a Tucker fan for sure. Like,
but you're not like a full blown. You're right. So you like Otis more than Tucker, but you're not necessarily a full blown Otis fan yet.
Exactly. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. But I do think this is a great opportunity for him, and really a great opportunity for NXT. Like, this is what I say. WWE on the whole, and NXT does benefit from it, so I'll kind of lump them in a little bit here. You know, they're signing so many high quality, like indie talents and all these great people. And I'm happy for them and I'm happy for NXT and I'm happy for everybody, you know, but like when you see guys like Otis get a shot, that's the NXT I love the most. So I really am excited about him versus Ciampa because that to me is when NXT is kind of at its purest in terms of its mission statement and in terms of what it's all about. So I think him and Tommaso could have a really interesting match. And it'll be great for Tommaso because he'll still be competing, you know, as champion, but against lower card guys. And, you know, the saying goes, you only get better by facing people that are better than you. And Tommaso is on such a level right now. I think he's one of the best performers in the world. Notice I didn't say wrestler. You know, he does call himself a sports entertainer. So, like, I do think he's one of the best performers in the world. And I think Otis's stock will grow considerably after sharing a ring with him. So I think this is good all around, man. I can't wait for this.
Yep, and in the meantime, we did get a $2 super chat from TPA Cliff. Can we have Otis versus Keith Lee, please? Hoss fight.
That would be amazing. And now people are dragging me for not being a full-blown Otis fan. I'm sorry.
The reason that I'm not like offended or anything is because I'm just sit back and wait because I know he'll make you a fan.
I mean, look, he does a lot of good things in there. I just don't know if he'll ever be that guy where I'm like, yeah, Otis, get up, like I am with Kyrie or Johnny or whatever. But, I mean, again, relative to Tucker Knight and the whole team thing, if we're talking about a singles breakout star, it absolutely is Otis. Absolutely. I mean, he's got the personality. He's got the moveset. I mean, even, I'll be honest, and you know that WWE and humor are never a good mix for me. That whole, like, preamble he went on last week about the toilet and about how, like, coffee ruptures the system, there is something about Otis's, like, diction and his delivery that just really, like, connects to my funny bone.
Yeah.
And he's just like, and then the toilet tuck in. He just like expresses like, I don't know. I was in stitches last week. So he's definitely got it all together. And again, that's why I'm excited about him doing something like this, because you face a talent the level of Tommaso Ciampa, you're only going to get better. Yeah. And that's really cool. So I've got nothing else to say about this. Unless you do, we can move on.
All right. Well, then if we do move on, we can talk about the Undisputed Era making fun of the War Raiders.
Dude, forget making fun of the War Raiders. Just Undisputed Era in general gives the Earth life. Like, I think we should just send these guys into space so that their amazingness can single-handedly repair the ozone layer and save us all. Like, they are the best thing humanity's produced since, I guess, Johnny Mundo. Yeah. So, I mean, just, I love it. I love the interplay between these guys. Even Bobby Fish, who I don't even want to call Bobby Fish because I enjoy his charisma here, where I think he's earned the name Robert Pisces. I don't know, man. I love them. I think they're great. You gave a spoiler earlier in the night saying that Tommaso's probably going to be your superstar of the year. For me, my faction of the year, it's really looking like it's going to be Undisputed Era, honestly. Like, these guys just can't be touched. But, I mean, you did kind of open this segment, so what were some of your favorite bits from the Undisputed Era here?
I mean, you already mentioned Roderick Strong talking about how he always beats his son at hide and seek, and Adam Cole just being like, yeah, I know.
Like, what? And then, I don't know if you caught this, dude, and this is why I'm glad when you said, like, you took, like, handwritten notes. Like, because they said, we can't even hide because, like, we're so famous, like, we're incapable of hiding. And Kyle O'Reilly said, I can't even go grocery shopping. I think they said that Kyle really loves one thing that he's not able to get at the grocery store or whatever. Did you catch what Kyle said? No. I could not catch what he said. Damn it. Because he said he really loves something. And Kyle's just so weird and so quirky that I bet whatever he said would have made me grin like an idiot. But I even tried like replaying.
Oh, and that was another great line they had about the War Raiders, is that they're a few centuries too late for a fashion statement.
Yes, dude. I say it every week. These guys are the most charismatic faction going. It's cool to be them. And even if you think that there are some hams in the group, like maybe Roddy's lines don't always connect, or maybe Bobby sometimes may feel a bit out of place to people, you can just tell that these guys all love being around each other. That is a real, genuine brotherhood. And their comedic chemistry is just on point. Like, if you need them to be serious, the way they work in the ring, that's them being serious. And when you need them to show the charisma, I mean, that's what segments like this are for. Plus, they listen to their own theme when driving together. If that isn't unity, I don't know what the fuck is.
Wait, prove it. How do you know?
Well, no, didn't you even say with the whole Aleister Black footage when they were driving away, you could hear their theme playing out of their car? Didn't you make that remark that, like, they listen to their own
shit. If I did, I forget. I don't remember.
Because I thought you brought that up, and I just kind of latched onto that. Like, if that's true that they do, that they're so into themselves that the one thing they play on the radio is their theme song. I mean, may you all love yourselves the way Undisputed Era loves each other and themselves as an entity. Because for the love of God, low self-esteem wouldn't even exist anymore if we were all able to do that.
You know what? I'm with Cliff. We need an Undisputed Era sitcom.
We do. Oh my God, we do. I want all the episodes. I even want the episode that all sitcoms drag out in like the 4th or 6th season. Or
and Kyle, you know what? I'm going to even take this a step further. I don't want an Undisputed Era sitcom. I want an Undisputed Era reality show.
Yes. Oh my God.
Kyle, we got another $2 super chat here from TPA Cliff. UE and WWU in their own sitcom, a concept. So Undisputed Era and Worldwide Underground in their own sitcom. I think the format needs to be a reality show, because in a sitcom, it would get bad, fake cheesy, not good, fun, hammy cheesy. And I want good, fun, hammy cheesy, which I think is what a reality show lends itself to a little more than a sitcom in this case.
And I think you could do more with the Undisputed Era Worldwide Underground and a reality show like Undisputed Era Worldwide Underground as neighbors. And then you just have that play out through real life interaction. I mean, just imagine Adam Cole and Johnny Mundo comparing aesthetics. I mean, they're both beautiful, case closed, but that would
Dude, just the initial stare down alone would be worth a 30-minute episode.
Yeah, right. But getting back on track here, but that was a delightful sidebar. This was amazing. And I love too, can I just say, one great line to me from Adam Cole, future WWE champion extraordinaire, was that
future Universal champion, that's right.
I hope so. Was that Ricochet versus Pete Dunne is pretty much an Adam Cole invitational because the winner will have the honor of losing to him.
Yes.
Oh man,
dude, how perfect is Adam Cole's situation right now, knowing that he is owed a North American title shot, and in the process, after next week, it will also just happen to be for the UK title as well.
Adam Cole is going to be swimming in that gold, baby.
I mean, if it wasn't for the fact that Adam Cole is owed everything by the universe, I would really be wondering how he managed to pull off going from losing one title to potentially having the chance to win two over the course of like a month.
It's just the greatness of Cole, I suppose.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right.
But, man, I got nothing else to say about this. I just adore Undisputed Era, and I can't wait for War Games. I really can't, because they're going to steal the show again. So if you've got anything else you want to say, we can move on.
All right, then. After this, we got our third match of the night, Lars Sullivan versus Raul Mendoza. And, I mean, Raul tried. He did some stuff. He tried to kind of do some stuff with his quickness, but Lars is absolutely massive, and there were points in this match that he seemed more annoyed than anything by Raul. He was tossing him around, and when Mendoza got a little bit of offense, it seemed to really just kind of wake Lars up. And eventually, once Lars stopped putting up with Raul's bullshit, he won via freak accident with ease.
I mean, dude, this is a really dominant showing from Lars. I mean, Raul, he got some offense, including a springboard dropkick, but nothing really to write home about. This was Lars's match to win. We all knew that. He did. And that's really all I can say about it. Freak accident gets the 1, 2, 3. We can move on.
All right, then next up, Pete Dunne. Peter Dune got interviewed by, I don't know, some random camera guy. We don't actually see the people in these. And just asked him about his match next week with Ricochet, and he basically says he's not worried about it. Says that Ricochet has gold that he wants. He blames Ricochet for their loss in that tag team match, and then he says that the only thing he's worried about is trying to figure out how to fit 2 titles in his mouth.
That was an excellent closer, and I love how he also brings home, hey, Ricochet's been champion for 5 minutes. I'm the longest reigning champion in WWE.
Yeah, it's a really, really wide gap, man. There's a hell of a discrepancy there. Ricochet is tied with Kairi Sane for the least tenured NXT champion, and Pete Dunne is the longest reigning champion in the entire company, regardless of brand.
Exactly, because now that Lesnar's reign has ended, Pete Dunne kind of stands alone atop the mountain. I think there's a considerable gap between him and AJ, isn't there?
Peter Dune, buddy. Yes, you're correct.
Yeah, and AJ's been impressive. That's why I bring it up. In fact, there was a stat released about AJ today, but I won't get into that. But
yeah, isn't AJ closing in on a full calendar year as champ?
Yeah, dude. It's been a crazy.
I would be willing to bet that the stat that you saw was 300 days.
The stat that I saw, well, now that we're talking about it, I might as well bring it up. Let's see. What was it? Impressive AJ Styles stat. Okay, so I'm just going to read what the Reddit user wrote about it. AJ's success in WWE is really quite astonishing when you think about it. As of now, he has been on the roster for 964 days since debuting at the Royal Rumble. His combined 2 reigns as WWE champion are currently at 448 days, and his second reign at 308 days is the longest since CM Punk's record-setting reign over 5 years ago. But in between those 2 reigns, he held the United States title for a combined total of 91 days. And then so out of 964 days on the roster, he's held gold around his waist for a grand total of 539 days. 56% of his tenure, AJ Styles has been a champion.
Damn, those are some Alexa Bliss type numbers, except he actually deserves it.
I know, right? Like, who put this math together? Mark Schoeneman? And then, for comparison's sake, the Reddit user also mentioned John Cena's WWE career is roughly 5,920 days, and he's held some gold of some kind, WWE, World Heavyweight, US, and Tags, for a grand total of 1,881 days, which equates to 31.77% of his time on the roster. So, I mean, even though he's had a longer WWE career than Styles, obviously, it's just you see how it all shakes out. They've really gone totally all in, which I think I can say now the event's over, on AJ Styles, which I think is absolutely wonderful. But he Dunn, man. But what makes it more impressive, though, about Dunn, to bring it full circle?
Age.
Exactly. He's so young. He's 25. Right, he did turn 25.
Whoa,
right?
I don't think he's that old even.
Is he still 24?
Yeah, dude, he's still only 24. He turns 25 in November.
Oh, damn. So he's still got a little bit of time left. So he's only 24, and he's already putting stats up like that in the company.
Yep.
You know, god damn.
The
man.
youngest champion on the roster is also the longest reigning champion on the roster. What else needs to be said?
Unbelievable. And I really can't wait for next week. I think him versus Ricochet is going to be a phenomenal matchup. But that's all I can say about that. We can move on if you want.
All right, then up next, we got Ricochet interviewed by Kathy Kelly. And he kind of, you know, good old Petey boy. It's just another hurdle for him to jump over. That's about the extent of what he says. I'm starting to notice that Ricochet's promos are a lot of sizzle. Like, he says a lot of words that don't really mean anything.
Yeah, I guess because he's like, when I get in the ring, that's where I do all my talking. But nothing really to say about the promo. Let's move on.
Dude, we got a Forgotten Sons vignette, and it was badass. I want you to do most of the talking about this because all I want to add is that it was great, and I loved it.
I'll be honest, I do remember seeing it. I'm kind of fuzzy on some of the wording here because I know they used the word discarded. We were discarded once, but we will never, never, never be discarded again. It was all three of them, like, pretty much reiterating the same sentiment as if to really demonstrate the unity. I love the music. I love the typography on Forgotten Sons. Really just the whole aesthete of the video package, if you will. These guys, I'm really watching them, and I'm watching them closely because you figure it's Wesley Blake, it's Steve Cutler, and it's Jackson Riker? I know it's Gunner, but that's the name he's going with, right? Jackson Riker?
Jackson Riker is correct.
I dig it, dude. I dig it. I say, for me, you make Blake and Cutler tag champions. You make Riker a North American champion. Bam. You know, if you wanted to do something with the faction, I'm saying that to me is what you would do. Because to me, Gunner is.
To me, I think they would be better off pulling a Sanity and just having the tag titles as a unit and using the Freebird rule.
That could also work. I mean, how the Freebird rule is established, so why not, you know, take advantage of it? That also works. But yeah, I mean, Forgotten Sons, man. This is another one, and I'm actually glad you brought up Sanity. It's funny you bring them up because a lot like Sanity, I really like the concept of this faction. I think it's a great concept. Execution, not off to a bad start. You know, they got the win. And you know, what was it, last week, I want to say they got the win. And that was against Street Profits. So, you know, good start. They've just got to maintain the momentum. I'd really like these guys to avert, you know, the tragedy that was Sanity, where it was like they could have taken over everything and they were at the end of the day. Like, I'd like to see that. If we're already talking about War Games this year, I'd like these guys' profile to get up so much that they're in War Games next year. I'd love to see them in environment.
Yes, please. Yes.
Yeah. But you need to build them up so we can believe them being in that kind of a role. And I have faith in NXT to do it. So it's not like I'm coming down on them, you know, that they failed, you know, because it hasn't even started yet. I'm just cautious because we saw what happened with Sanity. And again, another faction where the concept, I think, is brilliant. Execution remains to be seen. But, I mean, what do you think about this? Because you said the video package was badass. So what are your sentiments on the group and your aspirations for them?
Yeah, I like that they are like this, like, almost like motorcycle gang of badass abandoned toys. Like, it's like their own little island of misfit toys over here, but they're like holding a grudge against the people that allowed them to become forgotten in the first place. I love it, man.
Yeah, again, it's great. I'm really curious to see if there will be any breakout star, or if this really will be kind of like a heel New Day situations. And
I mean, if there's gonna be a breakout star, it's gonna be Riker to me.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would absolutely.
Because I know Blake is good, but he's also kind of a low ceiling guy. I'm less familiar with Cutler. He might have more of a high ceiling than I know of, but we have seen a lot of him as sort of a local talent type where he gets squashed by bigger guys, by bigger names. Riker, though, when he was Gunner in TNA, he has an it factor for sure to me. I think that there is more upside to him. And he's on the older side, too, to be fair. So I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Absolutely. So with that said, let's move on.
Let me actually look up how old he is.
Okay.
I remember he was Phil Shatter on the Indies.
I'm going to guess 35.
36, yeah.
36 would have been my next guess, honestly, because I knew he was on the older side, because I remember he's running TNA. And that
I mean, the thing is, he's not ancient by any means. Like, we've also got to remember, like, Adrian Jaoud is also 36, and he's actually going to be 37 this year, whereas Jackson Riker just turned 36 this year. So Jackson Riker is actually younger than Adrian Jaoud, but the big difference is a lot more experience, just as good of a look, but also a lot taller, which we know Vince loves. So I think that advantage big time to Riker in that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that there is a pretty high ceiling for Riker. And the thing is, like, AJ Styles signed with the company at 39. Samoa Joe was 35 or 36. So, I'm okay with it as long as they know what they have and they're willing to get behind the guy. I do think that Jackson Riker is going to be kind of the highest upside guy out of these three. And that's not to say I don't like any of the other two guys. I do, but I just feel like they're both kind of lower ceiling, maybe even NXT only kind of guy. Like, to me, if Wesley Blake gets called up, he's Tyler Breeze 2.0, except without the babyface appeal.
Right, I would agree with that.
So, and I don't think Cutler's ever going to get called up. I would be shocked if he did.
All right. Well, I actually really appreciate you giving us that breakdown, man. And again, I've got really nothing else to say, so unless you do, we can move on.
All right, then up next, we had a backstage confrontation among Aaliyah and Dakota Kai initially, and then Lacey Evans shows up, and then Deonna Purrazzo shows up. And when Deonna shows up and says, "Can we settle this? Let's settle this now," everyone shuts up, and Lacey's just like, "Oh, we can't. We're still wearing our heels." And it's kind of funny that they're wearing heels, and yet they are the heels as well. But we end up getting, the information then afterwards that is a match that is going to happen next week. Dakota Kai and Deonna Purrazzo versus Lacey Evans and Aaliyah. So obviously pulling for the baby faces in that, not even just because, they're baby faces, I have to cheer for them, but from a pure talent standpoint, it's two far superior talents versus one decent talent and another maybe okay talent. We'll see.
Yeah, I'm pretty much right there with you. You took the words right out of my mouth. There's nothing substantive I could add. Seems like it'll be a fun tag match next week. Go Dakota and Deonna. So that's all I got to say about that. Let's all
right. And in our next segment, because I didn't take notes on this, I'm going to let you handle Kyrie.
Oh, yeah. Well, Regal just says, thank you very much, Kyrie, for coming in and telling me what you did. So apparently she imparted some information because she's so helpful, except to Payne, who got choked out. But I'll actually go with Paul's excuse that maybe she showed up to the building late because she wasn't booked. But regardless, then Cassius Ohno comes in, and I have to give Cassius credit. Love that he was wearing a Kings of Wrestling t-shirt because it had Cesaro on there. I think his own name on there, Ohno. So I don't know if we'll ever get that on the main roster. Probably not, which I'm sure will make a lot of, veteran ROH fans kind of seethe. But Cassius comes in and he's like, Mr. Regal, you wanted to see me? I was like, I didn't need to see you. We got everything we needed. And he goes on to tell Cassius that Kyrie gave Regal Cassius's alibi, so he knows that Cassius didn't do anything. And Cassius then goes on this tirade about, like, how, you never really see me, or I'm not really appreciated. And then Regal's like, you're always on my radar. And yeah, I'm always going to be on your radar, he retorts. So Cassius is frustrated that, like, he went from the hottest free agent to really just an afterthought. He feels like he should be in the main event, competing for the NXT title and stuff like that. Not his exact words, but that's the vibe he's really giving off. I deserve a better spot than what I've been given. And Cassius reiterates what he said last week. Any shiny new toy that comes to the door, I'm pretty much the welcoming committee. You know, send them my way, and I'll greet them properly. So this, you know, I would say this feels like a heel turn for Cassius, but I don't think the fans are really booing him. And he's not really turning on the fans or anything like that. He's not really being venomous. If anything, I think he's just dealing with wounded pride right now. And this is kind of how he works through it. So this is Cassius's angle for the time being. I wish I could care, but I honestly don't. I feel like I'm kind of over Cassius Ohno. That's just me. And Ashley, I'm guessing you don't have anything to add since you gave me the ball in the first place. So if you want, we can move on.
Yeah, well, no, I gave you the ball for the Kyrie part, but I do have a little bit in here for Cassius. I really just have that. I really hope it ends up being Riddle that he ends up facing, and I hope Riddle stomps his shit in.
Yes. Yes. I hope he stomps his shit in, and then Cassius snaps and goes full-blown heel. Because, again, I'm not getting those vibes yet. But if Riddle humbles him enough, then Ohno will definitely, I think, sway that way.
Yeah. All right, so then we get to our main event of the evening, Bianca Belair versus Nikki Cross. Admittedly, the most I have as far as notes goes is pretty much just me complaining about the crowd liking Nikki Cross, so I'm just going to let you handle the majority of this one.
You know, I was kind of disappointed by this because I was really looking forward to this, but I will say this. I was disappointed by it initially, but I'm trying to see the forest through the trees, and you know, the way it kind of worked was Nikki Cross, of course, the type of character she has, the style is going to be a bit more unorthodox, you know, crawling under Bianca, you know, kind of clapping and being like, ooh, shiny, and playing the mind games. At one point, you know, she caught Bianca in the ring skirt and just did forearms, you know, to the chest and stuff. So it was that, and Bianca was relying more like on her athleticism, you know, being the EST. Her military press is still gorgeous, you know, still a great athlete. Have a bit of back and forth. Ultimately, though, it does end in a double count out because they're just kind of fighting on the outside. Nikki kind of hops on Bianca, gets her in like that sleeper position. Bianca drops back full force on the steel grate of the ramp. That, you know, just knocks Nikki unconscious. Both the women are out. It goes to a double count out, so it protects Bianca's undefeated streak, which apparently I saw an image that she's 8-0 currently. So I guess now she's 8-0-1. And her and Nikki continue to brawl. It ends up by the commentary section. Bianca throws Nikki over the announce table. Nikki gets back up, though, and does a crossbody, taking everybody out. And that's essentially how we end NXT. What I'm hoping for, because they already did a last woman standing match between Nikki and Asuka. I don't feel the animosity here for that. I would, however, dig a false count anywhere match between these two if they're going to go outside and do all this stuff. And I will say, even though you know I'm not necessarily fond of Nikki either, I can appreciate her staying in NXT if she's going to be a legitimizer for other like heel talents and other talents that are going to like leapfrog her for the NXT Women's Championship. So even though it was a draw, I'm trying to see the bigger picture that WWE is probably trying to give Nikki and Bianca a bigger match so that when Bianca wins, it's a bigger deal for her bid for the NXT Women's Championship. So in isolation, I was meh on this, but given what I think they're going to do with it, I'm going to give it a pass, and I'm hoping that if it is a false count anywhere or some kind of a stip match and Bianca gets the win, that'll be a big moment for her because I think it'll be her biggest win in her NXT run. And hopefully then she could be positioned as the next challenger after Shayna gets her obligatory rematch out of the way. So those are my full and complete thoughts on the matter. If you have anything you want to tag on, you can, but that's really all I've got to say.
Yeah, man, you pretty much covered it. I really, as far as the actual match goes, I definitely didn't have the kind of expectations that you did just because, you know, I'm not really into Nikki's gimmick, and I still don't think Bianca is there in the ring yet. But you know, it was okay for what it was. The crowd was very behind Nikki, which, you know, I'm not a fan, but I can't take it away from her. She's extremely over in Full Sail, and yeah, man, the match wasn't amazing, but it wasn't like a disaster by any means. It was just there. I don't really have a lot to say about it.
All right, man. With that said, do you have any other remarks about NXT before we get to our next segment?
I don't think so, no.
All right, then. Before we get to our next segment, very quickly, guys, Be sure to check out the TWitWoW Facebook page. Give that page a like when you visit it. Be sure to follow Ashton and myself on Twitter. Ashton's pinned tweet is the TWitWoW schedule for the entire month of September. So if you want to know whatever recordings we're doing for that month and what times we're going live, any recordings that get added or redacted, it's all on Ashton's pinned tweet. So check that out. My pinned tweet is for Q&A. Q&A this month is going to be September 27th. So you've got 2 weeks exactly before Q&A. Get your questions in if you haven't already. We accept questions through Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Discord. I'll get to Discord in a second. So my pinned tweet is Q&A questions. Everybody's permitted up to 4 questions per Q&A. You can divide them up however you like. Be sure to check out our Teespring store. We have a variety of T-shirts and other wrestling-related merchandise. And as far as Patreon goes, be sure to donate $3 to join the TWitWoW Discord. It's a great fan community for the most passionate TWitWoW fans. You get to talk to all of them about everything from wrestling to video games to Game of Thrones, anything on your mind. We even have a not suitable for work tab that I saw actually got some action recently. So clearly our fan base is very varied in their thoughts, and you can share them all on the TWitWoW Discord. I think it's a great value for $3. Plus it furthers our projects. Currently what we're preoccupied with is SmackDown Live and 205 Live reviews. Same target goal as Progress, $120 a month. So you help keep that going. Plus, if you keep donating to maintain your Discord membership, soon you'd be able to cash that in to have content control. I always like to say if you stay in the Discord 10 months, $3 a month, that comes out to $30. You can cash it in for a live reaction to a 3-hour show. We've done Patreon requests before on the channel. You can just type that in, look up one, see how we do it. I always think they're a lot of fun. We've gotten some so bad they're good shows and some they're so good they're amazing shows. So whatever's on your mind, give it to us. Price breakdown goals, everything is on the Patreon, so check the link out. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else I should plug. I don't think so. So let's get to high spots and low shots. And my low shot, Ashton, I'm going to say, oh, you know what? No, she's a jobber. I don't feel good with giving it to her. I was going to Shayna squashed. I'm going to say, you know what? My low shot is Cesar Bononi and Jowd. Because
why do you keep just saying Jowd? Why aren't you saying Adrian?
Well, I never even heard his first name on commentary, probably because like I kind of zoned out. So I remember the last name, so that's just what I stuck with. But regardless, he's a low shot, so he doesn't even deserve to have me pronounce his full name in the first place. They're both on the NXT radar. They're both Brazilian talents, especially Cesar, who has been with NXT for a while, and they still really haven't quite put it together. And they lost to a returning Oni Lorcan. So yeah, your failures, you have to live with that. They're my low shot.
Yeah, my low shot is going to be both Ricochet and Pete Dunne, because one of them is going to lose their title next week, and then the other one is going to lose both of their titles to Adam Cole very soon.
Sounds great to me. Yeah, I can't really argue with that logic. My high spot, let's see here. You know what? My high spot is Lars Sullivan.
Nice.
He's back with a purpose, and not only was he able to just decimate Raul Mendoza, but he openly admitted to attacking EC3, and he has yet to face backlash because that's how menacing he is. So Lars Sullivan is my high spot.
Nice. I'm going to drop my high spot on the returning tag team that picked up a big win tonight, Lorcan and Birch, a.k.a. Team 1-2. They came back, immediately got a big win over a couple of guys that we have seen, so it's not like it was just two local talents that nobody's ever heard of. And they did so with a new finisher, so maybe that new finisher will lead them to the promised land. We'll see.
Absolutely. So with that said, do you have any concluding remarks?
I do not, so let's close this thing up, brother.
All right, guys, this has been NXT. This has been TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John. That's my core and commentary Ashton. Guys, be sure to comment on this video when it's done processing. Who do you think Cassius Ohno is going to welcome to NXT next? Do you think that EC3 is going to get his revenge on Lars Sullivan? And probably the biggest question I'll pose this week, who will be Tommaso Ciampa's next challenger? Talk to us, talk to us, talk to us. We'd love to hear from you. Be sure to like the video if you haven't. The more likes you leave, the more likely we are to be the top search result for NXT reviews on YouTube. And when you're the best at what you do, the top is the only place that you belong. So please leave that like, and please click the bell icon for notifications so that you never have to miss another TWitWoW recording. And with that said, guys, We will see you again on Friday for Hell in a Cell preview and predictions. We're going live with that. Are we going live with that at 9, Ashton, or are we going live with that at 8? What time are we going
9,
live?
brother. 9, as always.
9. I figured we're going live with that at 9 p.m. Eastern time. Be sure to be there as we break down the entire Hell in a Cell card. Is it going to be Night AJ, or is it still going to be the house that AJ Styles built? Is the monster among men finally going to become Universal Champion, or will Roman continue to reign? Find out all these questions and more as we break down Hell in a Cell in our preview and predictions this Friday. Until then, guys, tune in and peace out.